Welcome to the Deep Dive. Our mission, as always, is to take the sources you've shared and really zero in on the most interesting, surprising bits.
Yeah, cutting through the noise to get a clear picture.
Exactly. And today, we're diving into sources centered on OnlyFans creator Annie Knight.
We're looking at her, ambitious challenges and one specific event that had some pretty unexpected consequences.
We've got material from a YouTube transcript, which itself pulls from social media, news reports, covering her activities, her personal life, public reactions, and, importantly, her health.
Our goal here is really to unpack the details of these events, get the context from the sources, and look at all the different perspectives.
You know, from Annie Knight's own take to what people were saying online, and then the physical reality she faced.
And here's where it gets really interesting right off the bat.
Go on.
These sources talk about a day where she aimed for a certain number of encounters, but ended up with a way higher count in just a few hours. So high, in fact, it landed her in the hospital.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, let's definitely unpack that.
So the sources set the scene. Annie Knight, she's described as a 28-year-old Australian model and OnlyFans creator.
And known for what the sources call record-breaking stunts in the adult industry.
She seems to have embraced this title, Australia's most active woman, apparently.
And her goals, based on this material, have really ramped up over time. Like back in 2023, the target she set publicly was 365 partners in a year.
Basically one a day.
Right.
Then by 2024, that escalated. She reportedly challenged herself to hit 600 partners.
Which then brings us to 2025, where the goal went even higher, aiming for 1,000 men.
And according to these sources, she actually hit that 1,000 goal already, surprisingly fast.
Oh.
Well, partly or maybe mostly thanks to one single day.
Okay, this must be the day you mentioned, May 18th.
That's the one. That's the focal point here. Her original stated aim for just that day was 200 men.
200 in one day. Still a huge number.
Huge. And the idea was, make a big dent in that 1,000 goal for the year, but also, crucially, generate content for her social media.
And she wasn't exactly subtle about it, was she? The sources show she promoted it quite openly.
Oh, yeah. Shared details, behind-the-scenes stuff. She's quoted saying things like, "Everyone knows I'm getting railed by 1,000 guys this year, but I want to get railed by as many guys in one day as absolutely possible."
She even booked a venue for it in Gold Coast, Australia.
Yep. And her audience, the sources say her followers on Instagram and OnlyFans really responded.
Saw that hope for 200.
It was drastically surpassed, is the phrase used. We're told 2,000 men apparently registered. Now, not all were physically there, but still.
2,000 registered. That's immense interest. So what was the final count for the actual day? How many did she manage?
Well, she decided to stop after 6 hours, and the number was 583 men.
583.
583.
In 6 hours.
Wow. That number is, it's genuinely hard to wrap your head around. Absolutely. And in her own words, according to the sources, she posted, "I just got railed by 583 guys in 6 hours."
How did she describe feeling about it?
She said she was beyond shocked by the turnout, mentioned people were still showing up as she left, and then added, sort of casually, that she had to get home to feed her dog.
Okay. And her overall takeaway from the event?
She described it as empowering, called it the best day ever.
Empowering. Interesting framing.
The sources even noted she publicly wondered if it might be some kind of world record.
I mean, based on what's presented, it certainly sounds like it could be unprecedented.
Yeah.
Naturally, the reaction online must have been something.
Oh, swift and strong. The sources include a whole range of comments. You get blunt criticism like, "This is the saddest thing I've ever seen society has cooked," or "What a broken generation." And more direct pleas, things like, "Can we stop normalizing this? This woman needs help."
Were there, attempts to analyze it psychologically?
Some commenters went there, yeah. One suggested some people will do anything except go to therapy to deal with their childhood trauma.
So a lot of negative reactions, or at least expressions of concern.
Definitely highlights a significant public response.
What's fascinating, and the sources touch on this, isn't just the number, but the how. The logistics of 583 in 6 hours.
Right. How is that even possible? The sources describe the process starting with groups. Groups of 20 men initially.
Okay.
Then it dropped to groups of 5, then down to 2, and by the 6th hour, it was one-on-one encounters.
That still seems incredibly fast-paced.
It does, and one comment included in the sources really captures that disbelief. "This makes my head hurt. 583 in 6 hours. How is that even physically possible?
Yeah, it really underscores how extreme that pace must have been.
Were there precautions mentioned?
Yes, the sources say precautions were taken, or at least certain requirements were set.
Like what?
All participants apparently had to wear branded condoms
Okay.
and pink balaclavas.
Pink balaclava.
The sources framed this detail as being for anonymity, specifically for the content she planned to use later on her social media and business platforms.
Got it. So this very public performance, this extreme event, it must have raised questions in the comments about, like, wider implications.
Oh, absolutely, especially concerning young people seeing this online. Commenters voiced some really strong concerns there.
What kind of things were people saying?
The sources are full of pointed remarks about influence. Comments like, "I hope my daughters never find your page."
Oof.
And a common theme suggesting, the problem is that so many young women and men see this type of thing and think it's an easy way to make money.
Were there specific concerns about exploitation mentioned?
Yeah, one commenter brought that up, claiming some women in the industry allegedly recruit girls just as they're turning 18 and suggesting most end up broke with mental health issues.
So it adds this layer of, like, social critique to the whole thing.
You can really feel the anxiety in some of the quotes. One person wrote, "My heart goes out to all the underage and young girls watching this, being literally influenced into work for likes followers because of this type of content."
It's not glamorous at all. What a broken generation. Yeah, I see that quote here.
Another added a prayer. "I pray this flex never finds my daughter's nieces or their friends' daughters' sisters," saying their heart breaks for anyone who feels this is an accomplishment.
Was there feedback aimed directly at Annie Knight herself about this influence?
Yep. Comments like, "Do you ever consider how you influence other young people, both young girls and boys?" Urging her to maybe respectfully keep your extreme lifestyle private.
Because she might be influencing vulnerable people, potentially leading to severe mental health issues. That's a heavy concern being voiced.
So, faced with all this criticism about her influence and the public nature of it all, how did Annie Knight respond? Do the sources say?
They do include one specific response. When people questioned her high body count, she apparently posted something like, "God forbid I cure the male loneliness epidemic."
So, kind of pushing back with humor, maybe, and a very different framing of what she was doing.
Seems that way. Definitely not backing down from the criticism.
Okay, shifting gears a bit, because the sources also go into her personal life, specifically her relationship status.
Right. It turns out Annie Knight is engaged.
Engaged, okay.
Yeah.
And she met her fiancé, Henry Brayshaw, how long ago?
Quite a while back, actually, about a decade ago, when they both worked at a pub.
So long history there.
Yeah, their relationship evolved. Friends first, dated briefly years ago, but only got back together romantically near the end of last year.
And the engagement happened quickly after that.
Very quickly, it seems. March 2025, during a vacation in Cancun, he confessed his love, engaged a week later.
Wow.
And the sources mentioned they're planning a wedding for 2026 on the Australian coast.
What's really striking here, and the sources seem to emphasize this, is his apparent support for her work.
Yes. Annie's quoted saying, "Henry has always been supportive of my career. He understands that I'm a workaholic. I love my work.
He understands that I have goals I want to achieve.
Yeah.
And he fully supports that, 100%. That's quite something.
And it's not just passive acceptance, right? The sources detail his reaction to the big May 18th event itself.
What did he do? He wasn't there, was he?
No, apparently he was at work. But she told Us Weekly he called her that morning before it started.
And said what?
Wished her luck and basically said, "Make us proud, have fun, be safe."
Okay. And after it was all over, after the 583.
According to Annie, again reported in these sources, he called again that night. She told him the whole story.
And his reaction.
She shared with the publication that he was really stoked, that she went above and beyond her original number.
Stoked, wow.
She added he was proud of me for completing it because I think he was a little bit worried I wouldn't be able to, and he was just really happy for me.
So, based on these sources, his support seems pretty comprehensive, even for this extremely intense event.
It really adds a layer of complexity to the whole public story around her, doesn't it?
It definitely does. However, as the sources quickly pivot to, this event, regardless of her view or her fiancé's support, had very real physical consequences.
You can't really get around that. Annie revealed that the sheer volume of encounters had, quote, understandably taken a physical toll on her body.
And just a few days later, she ended up where?
In the emergency room.
Right, she shared that on Instagram herself, didn't she?
Yeah.
With a bit of dark humor.
Yeah, writing, Being hospitalized after taking 583 men in a day was not on my 2025 bingo card.
And the reaction to that news,
Yeah.
I imagine it was different from the reaction to the event itself.
Oh, yeah. Judging by the social media comments the sources included, many people were not surprised at all.
Like play stupid games, win stupid prizes kind of thing.
Exactly that. Also, more critical remarks like, very sad, actually. What a waste of hospital resources, and just the blunt, the hell do you think was going to happen?
So the tone shifted from maybe concern about influence to something less sympathetic about the physical results.
Pretty much.
Do the sources give details on her actual symptoms? What led to the hospitalization?
They do. Severe cramping, heavy bleeding. Symptoms apparently made worse by endometriosis, which is a condition she discussed having before.
Right.
She was quoted saying at the time, "I'm not doing very well. I've been bleeding a lot since the challenge."
So doctors ran tests. Were they worried about internal damage?
They were concerned, yeah, given the circumstances. They did scans and tests.
And the outcome.
The good news, according to the sources, was no major injuries.
Okay, that's something.
But the findings weren't entirely clear-cut either. They noted low iron hormone drops and high stress levels, which had, quote, basically shut her system down.
Wow. And her own reflection after all that, after the hospital visit.
As presented in the sources, it was a somewhat understated realization. I guess 583 guys in a day, isn't that good for your body?
You think.
Yeah. So the final piece of context the sources offer is about whether this medical scare might lead her to actually take a break.
Did she say she would?
It mentions she decided to take a week off to rest right after the hospital visit.
Okay, fair enough.
But the sources add this crucial bit of history that complicates things.
Oh.
It seems the last time doctors told her to take it easy after surgery, specifically advising against intimate activities, she didn't entirely follow that advice.
What did she say about that?
The sources quote her saying things like, "Had surgery the other day and I was told a week off. It has almost killed me. Today's the first day I can and it's game on." And she even admitted, apparently with a laugh, "I might be lying a little bit. I might have done it once or twice. Don't tell my doctor, though."
Right. So the material we have kind of leaves it hanging, posing the question of whether time will tell if she chooses to actually take a break this time.
Exactly. Will she let her body recover from this ordeal?
Okay, so stepping back, what does this all mean? We've really gone deep into these sources detailing Any Night's challenge.
Yeah, we looked at her past goals escalating, the wild specifics of that May 18th event, the sheer number 583.
Her perspective, calling it empowering, the logistics involved, the precautions like the balaclavas.
Then the really strong, often critical reactions online about the act itself, about the influence concerns.
Right, and her specific pushback against that criticism.
And that surprising detail about her fiancé, his apparent full support.
And then finally, the unavoidable physical toll, the hospitalization, the symptoms, the medical findings.
This deep dive into these sources, it gives us a lot to think about, doesn't it? This interception of like online content creation, personal ambition, public opinion, and just physical limits.
Absolutely.
And given those details in the sources about her not quite following medical advice before, and that specific question raised about whether she will rest this time after the hospitalization, it brings up a really interesting question for you, the listener, to consider.
Okay, what's that?
What does this whole story, just as it's laid out in these sources, suggest about the pressures, maybe? Or the internal drive behind pursuing these kinds of extreme public goals, especially when they smack right up against physical limitations or clear medical advice?
Yeah. What drives someone that hard, even past those boundaries? Definitely something to mull over.